what we're having a look at here is a 1980 Casablanca Zephyr with the finished combination of antique white and antique brass. A rather uncommon combo. So how I got this fan is a bit of a long story on this one. So this was technically from Facebook Marketplace. The listing was an antique white Casablanca Delta. Just a Delta, not a Delta II. And it was antique white. It was about an hour and a half north of me. And I went to go get it. Well, long story short, that Delta was nowhere to be found. And it's still a mystery. I don't know what happened with it, where the picture came from. So instead of a Delta 1, I got that Delta 2 all the way over there. So I have no idea what the story is with that Delta, who took the picture, where it came from, where it is, or where it was. I have no idea. I kept asking the seller, where's the fan that was in the listing? She kept saying the Delta 2, that was the one. And I kept telling her no, it wasn't. I showed her the difference in the vents on the bottom of the motor, and she just insisted that was the one. So she was lying about something for whatever reason. I asked her who took the photos. She said it was her niece. And I don't know what happened with it, but there was obviously some fibbing going on in there. So I was literally just going to leave with this Delta 2. And then I asked her, do you have any more fans? She says, no. And I said, you're positive? And she says, well, I have one in the living room. It's a Hunter that doesn't work. Well, can I see it, please? Oh, yeah, you can see it. She takes me up to the living room. And there this was, the Hunter that didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. You can see that slumber quiet knob on the side. Of course it didn't work. But what ended up happening was, I just asked her, could I remove this? Could I take it? I'll buy it. And she kept saying no. And the reason she said no is because the house was for sale. It was pending. She was going to be out of there in 2 weeks before the new owners came in. So there had to be something on the ceiling. So after talking with her for a minute, I convinced her that, I could take the fan, I can go over to the Home Depot down the street, buy a light, and I'll replace this fan with this light. So that's exactly what happened. The whole thing was just a big mess. I ended up paying like $90 for this light. It was absolutely ridiculous. Now, my mistake was I should have just gone and bought the light and came back with it and just gotten a basic light myself. But I don't know what I was thinking at that time, but I let her pick the light. And she was just basically being a picky dumbass about it. I mean, she was moving out. So I could have just put a basic light up there, and then as far as the new owners of the home go, that would be their problem if they want to change it out. But she was being an idiot about it. So I was probably standing in that Home Depot for a good half hour, texting with her, oh, do you want this light? No. Do you want this light? No. Oh, that one matches the one in the kitchen, so I don't want it. And she chose a real expensive light. That was real dumb of me. I should have just gone in there, grabbed the cheapest one, and called it a day. But, lesson learned. This fan is in really good shape. Did quite a bit of work to it. It needed a serious cleaning, because this thing was just a filthy mess. The vent screens, bottom and top, were falling out. So, I had to re-glue them down. I use Gorilla Clear Grip glue, and it works perfectly on these. Very, very strong too. Blades were actually not that bad. She must have wiped them down or something, because they actually weren't that bad, but they still needed a cleaning though. And the inside of the motor housing was a total disaster. That needed a serious cleaning. And the slumber quiet was, of course, failed. The potentiometer, surprisingly, was the only good part. Aside from the pull chain switch and all that. The board was shot, like the resistor was shot. The transistor was shot. Everything was dead. The fan would spin, but barely. It would move very slowly. If you turn the potentiometer down, it would do nothing, considering the failed resistor and failed transistor. But I had spare parts laying around, and now it works perfectly. We're going to start off on the lowest speed here. Had a spare board and I had a spare transistor. I actually did not have a spare potentiometer. And why did it just stop spinning? Just gotta turn it up a little bit. Just stalled out. I got very lucky that the pot was good. Uses a K55 motor, of course, because the slumber quiet, which the bearings were completely toast. So I put new bearings in it. The original bearings were just very far gone. They were terrible. Grinding, screeching, and everything else. But after restoring this fan, cleaning it up real nice, this thing is in very, very good shape. I absolutely love this thing. I'll turn the speed up a bit. Now, when you turn the speed down on the potentiometer, that is when all those electronic components kick in. And that's when everything starts to fail in these things. If you have the speed turned all the way up, full throttle, it bypasses the resistor, it bypasses the transistor, it bypasses everything, and it just runs on high speed. The transistor and resistor are for turning the speed down, and those are the parts that always fail. And even on a blown pot, it would still work on high speed, so it technically bypasses that as well. But when you turn the speed down, it engages all those other electronic components that have a very high failure rate, and that's when everything starts to go. There's full throttle right there. Shut it down now. And that there is all about everything I got for this 1980 Casablanca Zephyr in antique white and antique brass.